In a quiet mountain town, far from the noise of big cities, an old council of elders gathered under the dim light of flickering candles. The air was thick with tension, and the scent of aged wood filled the room as Samuel, a man with deep wrinkles etched into his face and piercing blue eyes, stood up to speak. His voice was calm but carried a weight that silenced everyone around him. He spoke of humanity's endless hunger for power, its reckless curiosity, and how these traits would one day lead to disaster. "We have warned you," he said, looking at the younger faces in the crowd. "The path you are on will bring ruin. Do not meddle with forces you cannot understand." Among the listeners were Alex and Emma, two young adults who rolled their eyes at the elders' words. To them, the warning sounded like nothing more than old superstitions meant to scare children. They had grown up hearing tales of strange artifacts found buried deep underground, remnants of an alien civilization long gone. But instead of fearing these relics, Alex and Emma saw them as opportunities, keys to unlocking new technologies that could change the world. Later that evening, after the meeting ended, Alex leaned against a wooden fence outside the council hall, shaking his head. "Can you believe them?" he asked Emma, who stood beside him, arms crossed. "They act like we're all going to vanish because we're trying to learn something new. It's ridiculous." Emma smirked, brushing her dark hair out of her face. "Yeah, I know. What do they expect us to do? Just sit here and ignore everything we've discovered? Those artifacts aren't cursed or whatever they think. They're proof that there's so much more out there. We can't just let that go to waste." Unbeknownst to them, their confidence masked a growing danger. Beneath the surface of their excitement lay risks they couldn't fully comprehend. Deep within a hidden research facility carved into the mountainside, scientists worked tirelessly on Project Horizon. This top-secret initiative focused on studying the alien artifacts, piecing together their mysteries bit by bit. Among the researchers were Megan and Ryan, both brilliant minds consumed by the thrill of discovery. They spent countless hours poring over diagrams, running simulations, and testing theories. One fateful night, Megan made a breakthrough. After months of trial and error, she managed to activate what appeared to be some kind of dormant AI core embedded within one of the larger artifacts. The device hummed softly at first, then grew louder, vibrating with energy. Ryan rushed to her side, his eyes wide with awe. "Is it working?" he stammered, unable to believe what he was seeing. Megan nodded, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the controls. "It's responding. Look." She pointed to a series of lights blinking in sequence across the artifact's surface. For a moment, they forgot about the warnings, forgot about the elders' cautionary tales. All they could think about was the potential of what they had uncovered. But as the machine powered up, it began emitting faint signals, pulses of energy that traveled far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Neither Megan nor Ryan noticed this detail amid their excitement. If they had, they might have realized the implications. Those signals weren't random. They were messages broadcast into the vastness of space, announcing humanity's presence to anyone, or anything, listening. Back in the town below, Samuel gazed up at the stars, his expression troubled. He felt it in his bones, a sense of foreboding he couldn't shake. Somewhere out there, something ancient and powerful stirred, awakened by humanity's arrogance, and when it arrived, no amount of technology or bravery would be enough to stop it. Deep beneath the earth, in a hidden facility lit by cold fluorescent lights, Megan and Ryan worked tirelessly on Project Horizon. The air was heavy with the hum of machines and the faint metallic smell of alien technology. They had spent months studying the artifacts recovered from the crash site, trying to unlock their secrets. Each day brought new challenges, but also new discoveries. For Megan, every breakthrough felt like stepping closer to rewriting history. For Ryan, it was about proving that humanity could rise above its limits. One evening, as they sat huddled over a large artifact shaped like a jagged sphere, Megan noticed something unusual. A series of intricate patterns etched into its surface seemed to glow faintly when exposed to certain frequencies. "What if this isn't just decoration?" she said aloud, her voice tinged with excitement. "What if it's part of a system, a way to activate it?" Ryan leaned in, his brow furrowed. "You think we can turn it on? That's risky. We don't even know what it does." Megan shrugged, her curiosity outweighing her caution. "We'll never know unless we try. Besides, isn't that why we're here? To push boundaries." After hours of testing different combinations, Megan finally found the right sequence. With a soft click, the artifact came alive. Its surface shimmered with light, and a low hum filled the room. Both researchers froze, staring at the glowing object in awe. Then, without warning, it began emitting pulses of energy, signals that shot out into space like ripples in a pond. Ryan frowned, leaning closer to examine the readings on their equipment. "Wait, is it sending something? Those signals, they're not random. It's broadcasting." Megan's heart raced as she realized the implications. Broadcasting what? And to where? Neither of them had an answer. At first, they tried to shut it down, pressing buttons and adjusting dials, but nothing worked. The artifact continued to pulse, its energy growing stronger with each passing second. Eventually, Megan stepped back, her face pale. "Maybe we should tell someone about this," she whispered. But Ryan hesitated. "Tell them what?" "That we accidentally sent a message into space. They'll shut us down for sure. Let's just monitor it for now. Maybe it'll stop on its own." Unbeknownst to them, their actions had already set events into motion. Far beyond Earth, in the dark expanse of space, the signals reached their destination. A fleet of alien ships, dormant for centuries, stirred to life. These beings, known as the Vorthek, viewed themselves as guardians of the galaxy. To them, humanity was nothing more than an insignificant species meddling with forces far beyond its understanding. Days turned into weeks, and life on Earth carried on as usual. Alex and Emma remained oblivious to the danger brewing in the stars. They spent their days exploring old ruins near the town, searching for clues about the artifact's origins. One afternoon, while climbing a rocky slope, Emma stumbled upon a strange symbol carved into the stone. It matched the patterns they'd seen on some of the artifacts. "Look at this," she called out to Alex, brushing away dirt to reveal the design more clearly. "Do you think the elders knew about these symbols? Maybe they weren't just making stuff up." Alex knelt beside her, squinting at the markings. "Could be. But if they did, why didn't they share it with everyone? Why keep it hidden?" Before Emma could respond, a distant rumble echoed through the valley. The ground trembled slightly, startling them both. Looking up, they saw dark shapes descending from the sky. Massive ships blotting out the sun. Panic surged through Alex as he grabbed Emma's arm. "We need to get back to town. Now." As they ran, chaos erupted around them. The ships unleashed beams of energy that tore through buildings and forests alike. People screamed, scattering in all directions. In the distance, General Carter stood atop a hill, watching the devastation unfold. His jaw tightened as he gripped his rifle. Humanity was under attack, and there was no time to waste. Back at the research facility, Megan and Ryan stared at the monitors in horror. The artifact had gone silent, its purpose fulfilled. Whatever they had awakened, it was here, and it showed no mercy. The alien ships loomed over Earth like dark clouds, their massive forms blocking out the sun. Panic spread quickly as people realized these visitors were not here to make friends. The Vorthak, as they called themselves, viewed humanity as pests, insignificant creatures who had dared to meddle with things they didn't understand. Their weapons cut through cities like paper, leaving destruction in their wake. Fires raged, buildings crumbled, and the skies filled with smoke. General Carter stood on a hill overlooking the chaos, his face grim. He was a man of few words but immense resolve. As explosions lit up the horizon, he clenched his fists and muttered under his breath, "We won't go down without a fight." Behind him, Soldiers scrambled to prepare defenses, though it was clear they were outmatched. The Vortex technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. In the small mountain town, Alex and Emma watched in horror as the ships descended. People ran in every direction, screaming for safety. Alex grabbed Emma's hand, pulling her toward the shelter of an old barn. "Stay low," he urged, his voice trembling. "We need to find a way to help." Emma nodded, though fear clouded her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about the artifact and the signals it had sent into space. Had their actions caused this? Was this attack their fault? Shaking off the guilt, she focused on the present. "We can't just hide here," she said firmly. "If we know something about those artifacts, maybe we can use that knowledge against them." Meanwhile, Megan and Ryan huddled in the research facility, staring at the monitors in disbelief. The artifact sat silent now, its glowing patterns dimmed. But the damage was done. Ryan buried his face in his hands, overwhelmed by guilt. "This is all my fault," he whispered. "I should have stopped it when I had the chance." Megan placed a hand on his shoulder, trying to steady herself. "Blaming ourselves won't fix anything. We need to figure out what we're dealing with. And fast." She turned to the computer screens, searching for any information that might give them an edge. There had to be something useful in the data they'd collected. Across the globe, world leaders held emergency meetings, struggling to form a plan. Communication lines buzzed with urgent messages as countries put aside their differences to face the common threat. General Carter became the face of humanity's resistance, rallying troops and civilians alike. "We may not have their weapons or their speed," he told his men, "but we have something they don't: courage." As days passed, humanity began adapting. Engineers worked around the clock to study fragments of alien tech recovered from battlefields. Hannah, a young engineer with sharp eyes and quick hands, led a team repurposing the salvaged materials into new weapons. "If we can't match their power, we'll outsmart them," she declared, welding pieces together with determination. Soldiers trained tirelessly, learning how to fight against enemies faster and stronger than any human. Jake, a seasoned fighter with a heart full of fire, taught recruits guerrilla tactics. "Hit hard, hit fast, and disappear," he instructed, demonstrating moves that could give them a fighting chance. Beside him, Olivia drilled the importance of teamwork. "We win together or lose alone," she reminded them. Back in the mountains, Sandwell watched the unfolding war with a heavy heart. The elders had warned humanity, but their words had gone unheeded. Now, as flames consumed the land, he prayed for salvation. Gathering the remaining elders, he spoke softly. "Perhaps it is time to share what we know. Maybe our knowledge can still turn the tide." Reluctantly, the elders agreed. They sent messengers to General Carter, offering their wisdom in hopes of aiding the fight. It wasn't much, but it was all they had left. Humanity's survival depended on whether the general, and the rest of the world, would listen this time. For now, the Vorthek ruled the skies, their dominance absolute. But beneath the surface, humanity stirred. Out of fear and desperation came unity, and out of unity came hope. The battlefield was set, and though the odds were stacked against them, one thing was certain: humanity would not give up without a fight. As the war raged on, humanity began to adapt in ways no one thought possible. The Vorthek's overwhelming power forced people to rethink everything they knew about fighting. Soldiers, engineers, and ordinary citizens worked together, driven by a shared determination to survive. It wasn't just about winning anymore. It was about proving that humanity could stand against even the most terrifying threats. Hannah, the young engineer, became a beacon of hope for the resistance. In a makeshift workshop tucked inside an abandoned factory, she led a team of technicians who turned scraps of alien technology into weapons. Her hands moved quickly as she welded pieces together, her mind racing with ideas. "We can't match their ships," she told her team, "but we can make our own gear stronger and faster." One of her creations was a portable energy shield, capable of deflecting the Vorthek's deadly beams. When tested on the battlefield, it gave soldiers a crucial advantage, allowing them to hold their ground longer. Jake and Olivia trained fighters relentlessly, teaching them how to use speed and surprise to outmaneuver the enemy. The Vorthak were powerful, but their size made them slow and predictable. Hit them where they least expected, Jake instructed, demonstrating how to strike from behind cover. Olivia added, and always watch each other's backs. We're strongest when we fight as one. Their lessons saved countless lives, turning raw recruits into skilled warriors. In the mountains, Alex and Emma joined forces with Samuel and the elders. At first, the elders hesitated to trust the two young adults, given their earlier dismissal of warnings. But Samuel saw potential in them. They've learned from their mistakes, he said to the others. Let's give them a chance. Together, they pored over ancient texts and maps, searching for clues about the Vorthak's weaknesses. Emma discovered references to a material called voidstone, said to disrupt alien technology. If we can find this stuff, it might help us fight back, she suggested. Alex nodded, already planning how to locate it. General Carter, meanwhile, struggled to keep morale high. Despite the growing resistance, losses mounted daily. Entire towns had been wiped out, and the sight of so much destruction weighed heavily on him. Late at night, he often stood alone, staring at the stars. Why did they come here? He muttered to himself. What do they want from us? Though he didn't have answers, his resolve never wavered. He reminded his troops that every life saved mattered, every victory, no matter how small, was a step toward freedom. Not everyone believed in the fight, however. Some argued that resisting the Vorthak was pointless. A man named Harold, a former scientist, publicly advocated for surrender. They're too strong, he said during a radio broadcast. If we stop fighting, maybe they'll show mercy. His words sparked heated debates. Many dismissed him as a coward, but others quietly wondered if he might be right. Despite these doubts, humanity's spirit refused to break. Civilians played their part too, offering food, shelter, and supplies to the fighters. In one village, a woman named Clara organized a network to smuggle medicine to wounded soldiers. We may not carry guns, she told her neighbors, but we can still fight in our own way. On the front lines, battles grew fiercer. Soldiers armed with Hannah's inventions clashed with the Vorthak, their courage shining through the chaos. Jake shouted orders as his team darted between ruins, using guerrilla tactics to take down enemies. Olivia patched up the injured, her hands steady despite the danger around her. Each victory, no matter how small, fueled hope that humanity could turn the tide. For Alex and Emma, the stakes grew higher. They ventured into dangerous territory, searching for voidstone based on the Elders' maps. Along the way, they encountered remnants of the Vorthak's attacks, burned forests, shattered homes, and silent streets. The sight filled them with anger and guilt. This is why we have to keep going, Alex said firmly. We owe it to everyone who suffered because of us. Emma agreed, clutching a shard of alien metal tightly in her hand. We'll find a way to fix this. I promise. Though the Vorthak still dominated the skies, cracks began to form in their seemingly invincible force. Humanity's resilience, resourcefulness, and unity proved to be formidable weapons. For the first time since the invasion began, there was a glimmer of hope, a fragile belief that perhaps, just perhaps, they could win. Samuel approached General Carter one evening, his steps slow but deliberate. The elder's face was lined with worry, yet his eyes burned with urgency. There is something you need to know, he said, his voice steady despite the weight of his words. The elders have guarded knowledge for generations, secrets about the Vorthak and their weaknesses. Carter listened intently, his arms crossed as he stood beneath the dim light of a flickering lantern. He had heard whispers of the elders' wisdom before, dismissing them as old tales meant to comfort fearful hearts. But now, with humanity on the brink of collapse, he was willing to listen. What kind of knowledge? He asked, his tone cautious but curious. Samuel explained that the Vorthak were not invincible. They relied on a central command structure, meaning their entire fleet depended on signals sent from a massive mothership orbiting Earth. If that ship could be disabled, the invaders would lose coordination and become vulnerable. It won't destroy them completely, Samuel admitted, but it will give us a fighting chance. Carter rubbed his chin, considering the plan. It was risky, nearly impossible, but it was the first real opportunity they'd had since the invasion began. "How do we get to this mothership?" he asked. "That's where Alex and Emma come in," Samuel replied. The two young adults had been working closely with the elders, piecing together maps and clues about Voidstone, a material said to disrupt alien technology. According to the elders, Voidstone could disable parts of the Vorthif's defenses long enough for an infiltration team to reach its core. When Alex and Emma heard the proposal, their initial reaction was disbelief. "You want us to go up there?" Alex asked, pointing at the sky. "Into that thing." Emma nodded slowly, her mind racing. "If we can find the Voidstone and use it to weaken their systems, maybe we actually have a shot." She turned to Samuel. "Where do we start looking?" The elders provided coordinates to a remote valley rumored to hold deposits of Voidstone. It was dangerous territory, crawling with Vorthek patrols, but Alex and Emma agreed to take the risk. They weren't soldiers, but they knew more about the artifacts than anyone else. If anyone could pull this off, it was them. General Carter assembled a small team to accompany them. Jake, whose combat skills would be invaluable. Olivia, who could handle medical emergencies, and Sarah, a pilot skilled enough to navigate stolen alien fighters. Together, they formed a group of unlikely heroes, bound by a shared goal. Before leaving, Carter addressed the team. "This mission is our best chance to turn the tide," he said, his voice firm. "But I won't lie. It's also our most dangerous. If you succeed, you'll save billions of lives. If you fail—" He let the sentence hang, his expression grave. "Are you ready?" One by one, they nodded. Alex and Emma exchanged nervous glances but stood tall. They had made mistakes in the past, ignored warnings, and contributed to the chaos. Now they saw this as their chance to make amends. The journey to the valley was perilous. Vorthek drones scoured the area, forcing the team to move under cover of darkness. Jake led the way, his rifle always at the ready. Olivia kept watch over their backs, while Sarah monitored the skies for enemy ships. Alex and Emma focused on finding the Voidstone, guided by the elders' maps. After hours of tense searching, they stumbled upon a rocky outcrop veined with shimmering black crystals, the Voidstone. Emma knelt to examine it, her hands trembling with excitement. "This is it," she whispered. "This is what we need." As they gathered samples, the sound of approaching footsteps froze them in place. A patrol of Vorthak soldiers was closing in. Jake signaled for everyone to take cover, his eyes scanning for an escape route. The mission had only just begun, but already the odds were stacked against them. Despite the danger, Alex felt a flicker of hope. For the first time, he believed they might actually stand a chance. Whether that belief would carry them through remained to be seen. The team moved quickly, their hearts pounding as the sound of heavy footsteps grew louder. Jake signaled for silence, his rifle raised as he scanned the shadows. The Vorthek patrol was close, too close. "We need to move now," he whispered urgently, motioning toward a narrow crevice in the rocks. Alex and Emma clutched the samples of Voidstone tightly, knowing how vital they were to the mission. Olivia stayed close behind them, her medical kit slung over her shoulder, while Sarah kept watch on the skies. The group slipped into the crevice just as the Vorthek soldiers passed by, their towering forms casting long, eerie shadows in the dim light. For a moment, no one dared to breathe. Once the coast was clear, Jake led them deeper into the valley, navigating through jagged cliffs and treacherous terrain. The journey was grueling, but the weight of their mission pushed them forward. Each step brought them closer to the next phase, infiltrating the Vorthak mothership. When they finally reached the rendezvous point, Sarah took charge. She had studied the alien fighters they had captured earlier, learning how to operate them. "Listen up," she said, her voice calm but firm. "I'll fly us close enough to avoid detection, but once we're inside, it's all on you. We only have one shot at this." The stolen alien fighters hummed softly as Sarah guided them into the air. Alex sat beside her, gripping the edge of his seat, while Emma focused on the Voidstone samples, ensuring they were secure. Below them, the vast expanse of Earth stretched out, a reminder of what they were fighting for. As they approached the mothership, tension filled the cockpit. The massive vessel loomed ahead, its surface covered in strange, pulsating lights. Sarah expertly maneuvered the fighter through dense flotillas of smaller ships, avoiding detection. "Hold on," she warned as they entered a docking bay. The landing was rough, jolting everyone inside, but they had made it. The team disembarked cautiously, their weapons ready. The interior of the mothership was unlike anything they had ever seen. Twisting corridors lined with organic, fleshy walls seemed to pulse with life. Strange sounds echoed around them, low growls and hissing noises that sent chills down their spines. "This place feels alive," Emma muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake led the way, his sharp eyes scanning every corner. "Stay close," he ordered. "We don't know what's waiting for us." They moved deeper into the ship, following a map Emma had pieced together using data from the elders and their own observations. Along the way, they encountered obstacles, locked doors, security drones, and traps designed to ensnare intruders. Each challenge tested their resolve, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure wasn't an option. Tensions began to rise as cracks appeared within the team. Sarah voiced her doubts first. "What if this doesn't work?" she asked, her usual confidence wavering. "What if we're walking straight into a trap?" Alex shook his head, refusing to let fear take hold. "We've come too far to turn back now. If we can disable their systems, humanity has a chance. Isn't that worth the risk?" Emma nodded in agreement, clutching the Voidstone samples tighter. "We owe it to everyone who suffered because of us. This is our chance to make things right." Despite their determination, the oppressive atmosphere of the ship weighed heavily on them. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thick with an unnatural heat. At one point, Olivia stumbled, her face pale. "Are you okay?" Jake asked, helping her steady herself. "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. "Just keep moving." As they neared the control center, the challenges became more intense. Automated defenses activated, forcing them to split up to avoid capture. Alex and Emma pressed forward, their focus unwavering, while Jake and Olivia held off pursuing enemies. Sarah stayed behind to cover their escape route, her hand steady on her weapon. Finally, they'd reached the entrance to the control center. A massive door blocked their path, its surface covered in glowing symbols. Emma examined the markings, recognizing patterns similar to those on the artifacts they had studied. "This is it," she said, her voice trembling with anticipation. "If we can get through this door, we can disable their systems." But as Alex prepared to use the Voidstone, a chilling realization struck him. They weren't alone. Shadows moved in the distance, and the low rumble of footsteps echoed down the corridor. The Vorthak knew they were there. Time was running out. Alex and Emma stood frozen as the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. The Vorthak were coming, and they had only moments to act. Alex quickly pulled out the Voidstone samples, his hands shaking as he examined the door's glowing symbols. "We need to figure this out now," he said, his voice tense but determined. Emma nodded, her mind racing. She recalled the Elder's teachings about the Vorthak's technology. "These symbols, they're like a code," she whispered, pointing to specific patterns. "If we can match them with the Voidstone, it might disable the lock." Working together, they placed the shimmering black crystals against the door, aligning them with the glowing markings. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Voidstone began to pulse, its energy resonating with the alien mechanism. A low hum filled the air as the door slowly slid open, revealing the control center beyond. Inside, the room was vast and intimidating. Strange consoles lined the walls, their surfaces alive with shifting lights and strange, organic textures. At the center of the room stood a towering figure, the Vorthek commander. Its body was covered in armored plates, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. It turned to face them, its movements deliberate and menacing. "You shouldn't have come here," it growled, its voice deep and guttural. "Your kind is not ready for what you've awakened." Alex stepped forward, clutching the Voidstone tightly. "We didn't ask for this fight," he said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. "But we're not backing down either." The commander let out a low chuckle, its gaze piercing. "You think courage alone will save you. You are insects compared to us." Emma's mind raced as she studied the room. She noticed a series of conduits running along the walls, pulsing with energy. They seemed connected to the commander itself, feeding it power. If they could disrupt those conduits, maybe they could weaken it. "Distract it," she whispered to Alex, her voice urgent. He nodded, stepping closer to the commander while Emma moved to the side, trying to stay out of sight. "What do you want from us?" Alex asked, buying time. "Why are you doing this?" The commander tilted its head, its expression unreadable. "Your kind meddles with forces you cannot comprehend. You are a threat, to yourselves and to others. This is mercy." Before Alex could respond, Emma acted. She hurled one of the Voidstone samples at the nearest conduit. The crystal shattered on impact, releasing a burst of energy that caused the conduit to spark and collapse. The commander roared in anger, its form flickering slightly as the flow of power was disrupted. Jake and Olivia arrived just in time, bursting into the room with weapons drawn. "Need a hand?" Jake shouted, firing at the commander to draw its attention. The creature turned, lashing out with incredible speed, but its movements were slower now, less precise. Olivia ran to Emma's side, helping her gather more Voidstone shards. "Keep hitting those conduits," she urged. Together, they targeted the remaining energy lines, each strike weakening the commander further. The battle raged on, the team working together to outmaneuver their enemy. Sarah joined them moments later, having fought off pursuing Vorthak soldiers. "How's it going?" she asked, panting heavily. "We're close," Alex replied, dodging one of the commander's attacks. "Just a little more." With one final throw, Emma destroyed the last conduit. The commander staggered, its glowing eyes dimming as the energy sustaining it faded. It let out a deafening roar before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. For a moment, silence filled the room. The team stood still, catching their breath as the reality of what they had done sank in. They had faced the heart of the Vorthek's power, and won. But Emma's thoughts were already moving forward. She approached one of the consoles, examining the data displayed on its screen. Her eyes widened as she realized what she was looking at. "Guys, I think I found something," she said softly. "Records about humanity's origins." Alex stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Emma scrolled through the information, her voice trembling. "It says here, humans weren't always from Earth. We were exiled. A long time ago. The Vorthek cast us out, labeling us as dangerous. The revelation hit them like a punch to the gut. Everything they thought they knew about their history was wrong. And now, standing in the ruins of the Vorthek's command center, they understood the stakes more clearly than ever. Their fight wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming their place in the galaxy. The discovery left the team stunned. Emma stared at the console, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through the ancient records. The truth about humanity's origins was both shocking and humbling. Humans weren't native to Earth. They had been exiled by the Vorthek long ago, cast out as a dangerous species. It explained so much: why the artifacts resonated with human technology, why the Vorthek viewed them with such disdain. But it also raised new questions. What had humanity done to deserve exile? And could they ever reclaim their lost legacy? Alex broke the silence first. If this is true, we've been fighting for more than just survival, he said, his voice heavy with emotion. We're fighting to prove we've changed. Jake stepped closer, his weapon still raised. We don't have time to think about that now, he reminded them, glancing toward the door. We need to finish what we came here for. Disable their systems before reinforcements arrive. Emma nodded, snapping out of her daze. She turned back to the console, her mind racing. Using the information displayed, she began overriding the mothership's primary systems. I can shut down their communication network, she explained, typing furiously. Without it, the rest of the fleet will lose coordination. Olivia kept watch near the entrance, her eyes scanning the corridor for any sign of movement. Hurry up, she urged, gripping her rifle tightly. We're sitting ducks in here. Sarah joined Emma at the console, helping her navigate the alien interface. This part controls their weapons systems, Sarah pointed out, highlighting a section of the screen. If we disable that, it'll give General Carter's forces a huge advantage. As they worked, tension filled the room. Every second felt like an eternity. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared, echoing through the ship. Lights flashed red, and the walls seemed to pulse faster, as if the vessel itself was reacting to their actions. We've been detected, Jake shouted, moving to block the entrance. Moments later, the sound of heavy footsteps signaled the arrival of Vorthak soldiers. They were surrounded. Keep going, Alex yelled, grabbing a shard of voidstone from Emma's bag. He hurled it at the advancing enemies, creating a burst of energy that slowed them down. We're almost there. Emma focused on the task, her hands flying over the controls. One by one, she disabled critical systems, communications, weapons, navigation. The mothership groaned in protest, its organic structure shifting uneasily. It's working, she exclaimed, her voice tinged with hope. But betrayal struck when none expected it. Corporal Lamb, who had accompanied them under orders from General Carter, stepped forward, his face pale but resolute. I'm sorry, he muttered, pulling out a small device. Before anyone could stop him, he activated it, triggering a surge of energy that disrupted their progress. What are you doing? Jake demanded, aiming his weapon at Liam. Liam hesitated, guilt flashing across his face. There's a faction back home that thinks surrender is our only chance. If we destroy this ship, they'll see us as a threat. I had to slow you down. His words sparked outrage. You idiot. Alex snapped. Do you realize what you've done? Before Liam could respond, the Vorthak soldiers broke through, forcing the team to scatter. Jake and Olivia held them off, firing relentlessly, while Alex and Emma tried to salvage their work. The control center became a chaotic battlefield, each moment bringing them closer to failure. Finally, Emma managed to reactivate the shutdown sequence. It's done, she cried, hitting the final command. The mothership shuddered violently, its systems collapsing around them. Sarah grabbed Emma's arm. We need to go, now, she shouted, leading the way toward their stolen fighter. As they ran, explosions erupted behind them, tearing through the corridors. The team barely made it to the docking bay, leaping into the fighter just as the ship began to break apart. Jake took the controls, piloting them away from the chaos. Behind them, the massive vessel imploded, sending shockwaves through space. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring, a symbol of humanity's resilience and determination. But as they headed back to Earth, the weight of Liam's betrayal lingered. Trust had been broken, and the cost of victory was higher than anyone had anticipated. As the stolen alien fighter raced back toward Earth, the team sat in tense silence. The destruction of the mothership had been a monumental victory, but the cost weighed heavily on all of them. Betrayal cut deeper than any weapon, and Liam's actions left scars that wouldn't heal easily. Jake clenched his fists as he piloted the ship, his jaw tight with anger. How could he do that? He muttered under his breath, after everything we've been through. Emma stared out the window, her mind replaying the events over and over. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam's words, that some people back home still believed surrender was humanity's only hope. It made her wonder how many others shared his views. Were they truly united, or was their resistance built on fragile ground? Alex broke the silence, his voice low but firm. "We can't let what happened divide us," he said, looking at each of them. "Liam made his choice, but we have to stay focused. Humanity is counting on us." Sarah nodded, though her usual confidence seemed shaken. "He's right. We've come too far to let doubt creep in now. The Vorthek fleet is weaker without their mothership. This is our chance to push back." When they reached Earth, the sight below filled them with both relief and sorrow. Cities were still scared from the invasion, smoke rising from ruins where homes once stood. But amid the destruction, there were signs of hope. People rebuilding, soldiers regrouping, and communities coming together. The loss of the mothership had thrown the Vorthak into disarray, giving humanity a rare advantage. General Carter greeted them personally when they landed, his expression a mix of pride and exhaustion. "You did it," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "The tide has turned because of you." Emma stepped forward, handing him a data chip containing the information she had gathered from the mothership. "This might help us understand the Vorthak better," she explained. "It's not just about winning this fight. It's about knowing who we are and where we came from." Carter took the chip, his eyes narrowing slightly as he processed her words. "You found something up there," he said, more as a statement than a question. She nodded, hesitating before speaking. "Humans, we weren't always from Earth. The Vorthak exiled us long ago. That's why they see us as a threat." The general's face darkened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's prove them wrong," he said firmly. "Let's show them we're more than what they think we are." With renewed determination, humanity launched a counteroffensive. Engineers like Hannah worked tirelessly to adapt the stolen alien technology for larger-scale use. Soldiers trained harder, inspired by the bravery of Alex, Emma, and their team. Even civilians joined the effort, offering whatever skills they had to support the cause. On the battlefield, the absence of the mothership gave humanity an edge. Without centralized command, the Vorthek forces became disjointed, making them easier targets. Jake led daring raids against their weakened positions, while Olivia provided medical aid to those injured in the fight. Sarah flew reconnaissance missions, gathering intelligence that helped plan strategic strikes. But the war wasn't won yet. Pockets of resistance remained, and the Vorthak refused to retreat entirely. Their sheer numbers ensured that every victory came at a price. Casualties mounted, and the strain began to show. Some questioned whether the fight was worth the cost, while others clung to the belief that giving up meant losing everything. Amid the chaos, Samuel and the elders continued to guide those willing to listen. They reminded everyone of the importance of unity and perseverance. "The road ahead will be hard," Samuel told a group of fighters one evening, "but history is shaped by those who refuse to give up." Slowly but surely, humanity pushed forward. Each battle brought them closer to reclaiming their planet, and perhaps their place among the stars. For Alex and Emma, the journey had changed them. They had started as skeptics, ignoring warnings and chasing answers without considering consequences. Now they carried the weight of responsibility, knowing their choices would shape the future. As dawn broke over a battered yet resilient Earth, hope burned brighter than ever. The Vorthak may have underestimated humanity, but they had awakened something far stronger than fear, a spirit unyielding and determined to survive. The final days of the war were marked by both triumph and sacrifice. Humanity's counteroffensive gained momentum, fueled by the destruction of the Vorthak mothership and the secrets uncovered within it. The knowledge that humans had once been exiled by the Vorthak gave people a new sense of purpose. It wasn't just about defending Earth anymore. It was about reclaiming their identity and proving they were more than the dangerous species the Vorthak believed them to be. Alex and Emma stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield, watching as soldiers clashed with the remaining Vorthak forces. The air was thick with smoke and the sound of explosions, but there was also a glimmer of hope in the distance. "We've come so far," Emma said softly, her voice tinged with awe. "Do you think we'll actually win?" Alex nodded, though his expression remained serious. "We have to. Too many people have given everything for this fight. We owe it to them to see it through." General Carter led the charge with unwavering resolve, rallying troops even as exhaustion weighed heavily on him. He knew the cost of victory would be high, but he also understood what was at stake. "This isn't just our home," he told his soldiers before one final assault. "It's our future. Fight for those who can't. Fight for everyone counting on us." The battle raged on, humanity's ingenuity shining through in every move. Hannah's innovations turned the tide, her energy shields protecting soldiers while advanced weaponry dismantled Vorthak defenses. Jake and Olivia fought side by side, their teamwork unmatched. Sarah soared above the chaos in her fighter, calling out enemy positions and guiding ground forces to strategic victories. Finally, after weeks of relentless fighting, the last of the Vorthak forces fell. Their ships retreated into the void, leaving behind a scared but victorious Earth. Cheers erupted across the planet as news of the victory spread. For the first time in months, people allowed themselves to feel relief and joy. In the aftermath, leaders from around the world gathered to honor the fallen and plan for the future. Samuel and the elders were invited to speak, their wisdom finally recognized. "We warned you not because we wanted to control you," Samuel said, addressing the crowd, "but because we wanted to protect you. Learn from this. Grow stronger together." Alex and Emma became symbols of redemption, their journey serving as a reminder that mistakes could lead to growth. They worked closely with scientists and historians to study the data recovered from the mothership, piecing together humanity's forgotten past. "If we know where we came from," Emma explained during an interview, "we can figure out where we're meant to go." But questions lingered. What other secrets lay hidden among the stars? And how long until another threat emerged? Despite these uncertainties, humanity entered a fragile era of peace, united by shared struggles and newfound resilience. General Carter often looked up at the night sky, wondering if the Vorthak would return, or if something else might take their place. For now, life began to rebuild. Cities rose from the ashes, families reunited, and dreams of exploration sparked once again. The artifacts that had started it all were studied carefully, treated not as tools of destruction, but as keys to understanding humanity's place in the universe. As the sun set over a scared yet hopeful world, Alex and Emma stood together, gazing at the horizon. "What happens next?" Emma asked quietly. Alex smiled, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "We keep moving forward. That's what we do best." And with that, humanity stepped cautiously into its uncertain future, carrying the lessons of the past and the promise of tomorrow.